Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everyone.
Guys, I'm really excited for today's guest.
I'm a little intimidated, not gonna
A
lie.
little intimidated. We have Sonia Azad here with us. She's a health and wellness reporter for WFAA in Dallas. She does stories about fitness, nutrition, medical research, healthy living, and then outside of that, she teaches yoga, she does meditation, and she even does international yoga retreats. So that's a wide range. Sonia, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
I appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much. This is an honor, really.
Thank you for coming.
I was looking at all the things that you do, and I was kind of like, okay, she's here, and she's here, and she's here, and she's here, with all the things that you're a part of, and it's amazing how you have time for all of that.
I know.
This is why I don't have a husband. That's what my mom would say.
Oh my God.
We're starting off strong, you guys.
I feel like we're getting right to the Persian roots right then and there, like already.
We're gonna get to the Persian family issues in a little bit. Okay.
Oh, I have to rein it in. Okay, I'll wait.
Well, speaking of Persian roots, let's get to our noosh first. So
every week we have an Iranian on and we ask ourselves, what's the noosh going to be? And of course, we know the answer every time.
It's always
same
tea.
thing. So Sonia, what's our noosh?
So I did a mint tea tonight. It's cold here. It's like kind of, transitioning into the evening. So
Okay, can we get an idea of what cold is for you in Dallas?
Oh, that's true.
40s. Although for me, like 50s is definitely cold.
Because it was 55 degrees here the other night, 60 degrees here, and we were shivering.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way. I would in 100-degree heat, I'd be fine. But like 50s, I'm like, oh gosh, no.
So Dallas is perfect for you.
100. You should come move over here then. It's like 100 every day.
Cheers, guys.
South Florida.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. South Florida is where it's at, I'm hearing.
It is.
So, very broad. Who are you?
Oh my gosh. You started with the easy question.
Easy one.
I'm
going to give you the easy ones.
Gradually build up.
Well, it's funny. Actually, it's a good question because I think a lot of times, especially here in the US, when someone says, who are you? You attach that to what you do, right? For a living. And yeah, that's definitely part of my identity. But I like to think that that's not like who I am,
Right.
First and foremost, like I'm a daughter to two immigrants. My mom and dad came from Iran in the 70s. I have two sisters, so I'm a sister. I'm an aunt to a niece and nephew. I'm a friend to a lot of people. I love people, so I have a lot of friends. I feel like I like to collect friends. But yeah, I am all the other things you said, a meditation guide and a yoga teacher, a student of all of these things as well, and a journalist and a writer, a thinker, creative. I love that sort of spirit I always have. I'm a dancer too. I grew up doing like ballet, tap, jazz. I taught dance for a while, taught hip hop dance for a while.
What about Baba Karam?
I can do a little bit of Baba Karam too. You'd be surprised. It's been a while.
We're going to need a live demo at the end.
Oh my gosh.
Like a send-off.
We're drinking the wrong noosh, you guys.
Yeah, right?
That's for part 2.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, I mean, I like to say I'm half hippie, half yuppie. That's like my Instagram profile, half hippie, half yuppie. And then like citizen of the world, I like to, like, we define ourselves, I think, with such parameters. Like I'm a Texan, which I am. I was born here, right? But like these are sort of arbitrary lines that we've drawn ourselves into. So yeah, I have one friend he's a dear friend of mine, and whenever people would ask him like, where are you from, he'd say, I'm from Pangea. And I'm like, oh boy, like that's a little like
there we go.
more out there.
It's a little
like
opens up Pandora's box.
Rain it in, brother. Rain it in.
Right. But it's like, I sort of, it made me think. I guess it made me think to say like, yeah, who are you? Where are you from? I live in Texas. I live in Dallas. I'm living in the US, but if you could drop me anywhere in the world, I'd like to say like, oh, I'm home. I can adapt. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Dallas for one night. I went
for a purpose.
Yes, I went to the versus LSU game a couple years ago on Labor Day weekend.
Okay. All right. I remember
that stadium's crazy.
throngs of people here. Yeah. Oh, everything's bigger in Texas. That is for sure the truth. Yeah. Whether you're talking about
I had never seen
food,
anything like that.
yeah, the stadiums are insane. High school stadiums here are crazy. And then even like the highways, people who come here are like, is this like an 8-lane one-way highway? Like what is going on? Yeah.
There's just so
That's
much
one
land
thing.
there.
Yeah, that's one thing when I went to Houston the first time that shocked me. We got on the highway, like after we left the airport, you know, it wasn't that bad. And then we got into the city. I'm like, how many lanes are here? What's going on? We go through a patch of nothing, and then there's skyscrapers, and then you go through a patch of nothing again, and there's skyscrapers again. There's just so much. It's like never ending.
Yeah, no, that is exactly. Dallas and Houston are very sprawling. Like you're right. A lot of land that's being built up, but it was sort of built outward.
Right.
Austin, there's no room. I went to school. I went to undergrad at UT in Austin, and even back then it was super popular. Yep, hook 'em horns. But now the town is like being built on top of itself, and it's spread out as wide as it possibly can go. And so, yeah, it's very crowded, but I love that city.
At least the barbecue is amazing.
So I don't eat meat.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're learning things.
Okay, but at some point you did, right? No?
You're right. That's a good catch.
As an Iranian.
As an Iranian, I mean,
say no to the kebab.
I know.
No
honestly,
lamb?
No lamb. I know. I do miss jujek kebab a little bit, but and I also miss fried chicken, which is weird, but that's probably the Texan part. Yeah, it was in college in Austin, because it was such a progressive time, and it was like my first time to be outside of like the box, you know. And I noticed like it was also like the period of time in life where just in the world, like more vegetarian restaurants were popping up and vegan options and all this stuff, and I was so curious, and I'm like, man, I don't even like meat. And I remember the moment, the last time I ate meat, I was in college, so give me a break, a Wendy's chili bowl in my car outside my dorm.
Those are really good. Yeah.
I mean, I thought you were about to say you were eating like a nice porterhouse steak, and you said, you know what?
Same. We're foodies here. We don't judge.
I was in college, and so I was like, I don't even like this. Why am I eating this? And that was it from then on. So it's been like, since then.
Was that a tough conversation with your parents?
My dad, it's so funny. Every time I go back home still, he's like, Sonia, this nice chicken, or like tries to like hide chicken in the rice. I'm like,
oh my God.
I can smell it. It's not going to work. But yeah, no, they're used to it now. And actually my youngest sister stopped eating meat like a few years ago. And so they're like, look what you're doing. You're changing your sister's minds too. I'm brainwashing everyone.
Oh my God.
But no, I do. I have started eating fish a little more these days because I stopped eating dairy. So
that must be difficult.
Life is so complicated.
No must?
I know, right? I'm like, I'm so low maintenance except for
these are the laundry list of things I don't eat.
I know. Well, and this is part of the whole wellness thing, because I did like extensive allergy testing, food allergy testing, like a year and a half. I think it was like, a year and a half ago. And it was because I was like, I would eat and feel tired, or I'd eat and feel these symptoms that I was like, I don't think this should be happening like every time after I eat. And so yeah, they were like, woo, you have a pretty like strong wheat allergy. And so, and your body has trouble processing dairy. And so it was like, no dairy, no gluten, no meat. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And to be honest, I don't really even drink like much alcohol. So I am like clean living all the way.
Oh my
God. Straight edge.
And that is why you're in fantastic shape.
What an inspiration.
When it comes to like what we're consuming.
Okay.
So how does that work when you want to go, like, okay, we'll talk pre-COVID, like when you want to go out with friends or go eat somewhere, do you have to like sit there and pre-plan and look at the menu beforehand and see if you can go eat there or not? Because not a lot of places still have vegetarian options that are tasty, for that matter too.
Yeah, I think like, so that is the low maintenance part of me. Like I could eat the same thing every single day, and I'm not like super picky about like, I guess like the taste of the food. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like I'm more there for the camaraderie or the
ambiance.
the company.
There for a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if I get a vegetable plate or whatever it is, or a salad, like it's fine with me. That part of it is like sort of minimal. I don't attach a lot to food. It's more like the food is there to keep me going.
You look at it as sustenance, keeping you
Yeah,
alive.
exactly. No, that's true. That's exactly right. Yeah. So it's
So-
not that complicated. And I feel like even in a place like Texas, more and more people are opening, like there's a vegan sushi chef that's opening a vegan sushi restaurant here soon. And yeah, I know. I was like,
Wow.
I would make vegan
goodness.
sushi. The only thing I can
Yeah.
think of is like a cucumber roll or something with avocado and cucumber, and that's it. Like, how do you make?
There's so much stuff out there now. I mean, like think of like all the Beyond Meats and all that kind of stuff that, they're using
It's exploding.
everything. Yeah. There's a vegan Mexican restaurant here that's really popular. I mean, it's pretty pervasive. Yeah.
So Sonia, before we get into, you know, what your career path and all that stuff is, when you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up?
This is good. So at different points in time, it was either I wanted to be a lawyer, or I wanted to be a dancer, because I was, you know, I grew up dancing and performing. And those were like the two main things. I remember for a period of time, I said like, I want to be a doctor maybe, but I can't remember if that was like what I
Now you
really
have to
wanted
think the
do.
third one,
We know where
Mohandas.
that's coming from.
You chose
No.
a 2 out of 3 allowed ones.
Listen, you had.
We
2
know where
out
the
of 3
influence came.
Approved career
Right,
path.
right. You guys all know. You guys, okay, we're all on the same page. So, but I do think it was interesting, and it still is. I'm so into anatomy and physiology, and I'm so into brain health. Like, do I want to be like in an operating room or in someone's eyes or mouth, or like, no, I can say that definitively, but the human body fascinates me, and the brain does as well. But the idea of performing and being in theater, so I did a lot of musical theater with my dance background growing up. And I was like, I want to be like a backup dancer in like a hot music video for a long time.
You want to be a Puff Daddy backup dancer back in the day, right?
It was more like Michael Jackson back in my day, but you know, or just someone. Yeah, and I had friends who moved to LA and moved to Vegas and toured with different groups, and you know, did the whole backup dancing life. But yeah, when I was thinking about going to college and telling my parents like, oh, I really think I'm going to major in theater, they were like, what?
Yeah, that's stern look.
What?
Exactly. So I was like, well, I feel like broadcast journalism is sort of a performing art, you know, but at the same time, you know, during the Persian Gulf War, I was watching a lot of TV as a kid. And so depending on like, you know, the age of who's, you know, watching and listening to this, like they'll remember this too, because I think our parents were like, what's going on? That really made me want to become a journalist, because I was watching the reporters in all these different places. And I was like, wow, if those people weren't there to show us what's happening,
yeah,
how would we know? How would we know the truth? So that
especially
is really,
during that time before social media and everything. Totally.
Yeah, it was way before social media. Yeah, so that was really the impetus for how I got into journalism. But that was, you know, those were sort of some of the fun things.
So how did that conversation go with your folks?
About journalism, or
that you don't want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. You want to be in journalism.
You know, what's funny is the most hilarious part about me being a health reporter now is like, even a couple of years ago, my dad is like, it's not too late to go to medical school. I'm like, oh, it's too late. Trust me.
Oh my God.
I know he's kind of joking. He's kind of joking. No. He is totally joking. They're really proud of what I do. And it's like, it's so important to have representation, you know, in the media. And that's why I'm so like honored and excited and thankful for you guys doing what you're doing, because there just aren't a lot. I mean, there's like, people know, like, right, like Christiane Amanpour, and she's like huge in the journalism world, and like, oh my gosh, like we pedestalize her, and she's helped me. She's amazing. She's responsive. She's so brilliant, right, and so good at what she does. But like, we could have more representation. Like, we can have a few more of us in the media. I think that's
down in Miami up until a couple months ago. We had Rudabe Shahbazi.
Yeah.
I think she went up to Chicago now.
Oh,
she is. Yeah, she's doing WGN, I think. And then I have a friend who's still in San Diego, who's really big. You guys gonna know Shali?
Shali.
Yeah. So she and I kind of overlapped when I was in San Diego, but worked for different stations. But like, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, a few here and there, a few.
Right. We need more.
Yeah, I think over time, slowly, it's getting there.
But it's still nice to see Persian and Persian women, especially. So nice to see that you're representing us, but also as a strong woman in the field as well. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, fun fact, there have been 2 other Persian hires at my TV station since I've been here.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
So one of them still works
on camera or behind the
on
scenes?
camera. Yeah, on camera.
Okay.
Yeah. One of them still works here and one of them doesn't, but still, I'm like, wow, I've never worked with like 2 other Persians before. This is cool. On
Sweetie,
camera.
you guys could share ghormeh sabzi recipes.
I know, right?
Vegetarian one.
Or talk shit behind your coworkers.
So okay. Your first time live on TV. I'm talking about on a station. What was that experience? Were you nervous? Go through it.
Man, I wish I could say that I remembered it like, you know, moment to moment, but I do remember, like it was, so my first station, like where I lived, because we move around a lot for work. I lived in Bryan College Station, so where Texas A&M is, which is like funny because I went to UT and they're big rival schools. And so, and it was still like kind of a small town, but big enough in Texas. And we had a wide enough like reach in terms of an audience. But I will say, like, I feel like my college education prepared me. We had these like weekly newscasts that we would do at school. Like I was ready, you know, when you're young and you're hungry and you're like, I'm ready for this. You over prepare and you cross all your T's and dot your I's and go over your script over and over. And and I graduated college a year early. So I was a bit of like an overachiever, you know, and
true Persian fashion.
Exactly. Yeah. I know that's,
Fashion late only to some things.
Yeah. You guys could probably write this script out for me.
We'll graduate early, but we'll arrive late to the actual graduation.
Exactly. That was good, Ara.
That is good. You guys are on top of your game. That was really good. But yeah, I mean, I was nervous for a while. You just want to be noticed and you want to be good and you want to be not just good, but like the best. Right. And so, as a younger person and as a person who's like new in the field, you always just have to kind of like step up your game a little bit more and a little bit more. And, I mean, there were a couple of times, of course, where you like freeze on air. I remember when I years later worked in San Diego. And I just like, I'm in this live location and I'm like talking about what's behind me. And I turn around and I'm like,
oh no.
Oh yeah. It was just, but thankfully, again, you know, that wasn't like YouTube wasn't so huge back then because I'm just like, oh my gosh, that'd be a viral moment.
Yeah, but, you weren't like on a blooper reel or something.
Yeah. No, not then. So, but you know, even if you are now, it's like there are just so many of those moments. You just go with it. Yeah. And everything's become so much more casual nowadays that it's like I love it. I love how even news is less formal, you know.
Yes, but I mean, not to knock like professional journalism like yourself, but like almost anyone nowadays can pick up a phone and start the record button and have some sort of commentary of what's happening. I mean, that's a lot of the protests and what we saw in depth, like in the moment. That was cool to see.
And that gives perspective, right? That allows you to see from different points of view rather than watching the same 3-4 stations and hearing the same scripted stuff.
Right.
Not to say that you guys don't put in the work for it, but like Arta's saying, you can see different points of view from anybody that picks up their phone and just starts recording.
Totally. And like then then the dangerous side of that too is like literally anyone can say anything and then it goes viral. And then you know, with Twitter and everything, it's like, wait, is this real? Is this true? Is it not? So it's led to this big pool of confusion, like people really not knowing who to trust, and that gets even
reporters
really scary. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But thankfully, I still have a job. I do say, it's funny because I do say, Arta, I say, a 13-year-old blogger could like take my job because, and especially, you know, I say 13, but like everyone now is under a certain age is like comfortable in front of a camera because you have your phone, you're on camera all the time, posting pictures, videos. And so, yeah, it's wild. I'm curious to know where the future of TV news will end up.
All on TikTok.
I was just going to say too.
God.
TikTok has made people so much more comfortable to film in public. You will see people just setting up cameras at a restaurant and dancing in the middle of the restaurant, waiters passing by, nobody's saying anything.
No shame.
People were TikToking themselves getting COVID tested. My own sister did it. She did a drive up and just filmed, and she looks at them, they're like, is it okay if I record? And just recorded the whole process. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands of those videos. It's crazy.
Well, that's like the whole influencers in the wild Instagram account.
What a great, that's hilarious.
It is really funny. I haven't posted anything to it yet, but I would. Like if I saw someone doing like a whole like photo shoot or something that was kind of funny, I would totally do it.
Oh yeah, I would too. It's hilarious.
We'd love to watch it. So Sonia, you said because of your work, you do move around a lot and you're set up in different cities and stuff. So, you know, based on your resume, I saw that you lived in many different cities in the United States, and moving can be stressful and difficult. Were there any like tips or tricks you learned during your experiences moving around that made it easier each time you went about it?
Honestly, I would say just live light. And what I mean by that is like, I don't have a lot of stuff. Like people say I'm a minimalist, and then you see what they have and you're like, this isn't minimal. Like what? Mm-hmm. But like, like have the necessities, but you don't need to go crazy.
Right.
So I think living light has helped me to just pick up and move. That's number one. And number two, the practice of non-attachment. Because I think if we get attached to material things, then a lot of time it's so difficult to like rip yourself apart from it. And you're like, oh, but I need this and I need this and I need this. Kind of one of my favorite stories around that concept is from a meditation teacher of mine who said, okay, let's say you're on a piece of land and there's a river or a body of water, and you've got a life float or something like that.
A raft.
A raft. Let's say a raft. Yeah. A life float. English is my first language, I swear.
That would have gone viral if it was live.
Yeah.
A raft. You use the raft to get to the other side of the water so that you're, on the other side, right? And what do you do with the raft?
Sure.
Do you carry it? Like, are you going to carry the heaviness and keep on with your journey, carrying this baggage, this stuff that you don't need? Or do you just let it go and maybe it serves someone else who will need the raft later?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah.
That's awesome.
That was, I could have told it better, but that was one of the things that always stuck with me. Live light, non-attachment.
Good advice.
That is great. That's good advice.
Thank you. Yeah.
So this is kind of just
go for it.
How does an Iranian
no Taro.
I want to make sure I read this right. How does an Iranian end up in India covering the Columbia disaster for Houston?
Oh, good clarification point here. So the Columbia Space Shuttle disaster happened where the space shuttle was like all over Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And other. So it's I actually was in Houston. I was based in Houston, but working for the Indian television station.
Got it. That makes sense.
APTN. Yeah. So they hired me. I happened to be in Houston.
Okay, so you're working for an Indian TV station and you were just based in Texas.
In Houston. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. But
still
I did
a lot of crossover countries though.
I do love Indian sort of culture, tradition. I mean, it's very similar to ours,
right.
You know. I spent 6 weeks in India on a fellowship in 2010, where it was not like a super fancy thing. It was through Rotary International, and we lived with families and in mostly southern India, so in like villages, and I got to study how journalists do their jobs there. So it was kind of like a student exchange program, but I wasn't technically a student. It was like a professional exchange program. And I also took the time there to study yoga and meditation. So I really loved it. I loved my time there and the people I met there. And I learned a lot. I took bucket baths. I mean, when I say it wasn't like, fancy, it was not fancy. So, yeah.
And that's why you like to live minimalistic.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I seem like really weird to you guys? I feel like to a lot of people I might be
no.
weird.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Not at all.
I would love to be that.
No,
Yeah.
Armagon is weirder. Trust me.
I am definitely weirder than you. Don't worry. Hey, everyone can contest to that. But okay, I want to deep dive into your a little bit more into your career. So the first thing I want to ask is, can you walk us through a day in your life, including your job? Like, when do you wake up? How does your job work? Because we see news anchors and reporters on TV, right? But I think a lot of people don't realize how much work behind the scenes also you have to do. So maybe you could go into that for us.
Yeah. So covering health this year has been insane, of course, with COVID. Like my life doesn't look like any of my friends, like what they're able to do, even if it's, we all have our version of like bending the rules, right? At this point, like what should we do? How deeply should we think about things? But while everyone else is doing that, I really am not able to do that. And not just because of my job, but it's so complicated day, like all the time, all day, every day. I'm reading, I'm listening to podcasts, like all this stuff. So I usually work for the early morning news. So I wake up, depending on the day and my assignment for the day, between like 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And yeah.
That's very early morning.
Oh my God.
Exactly. So it's barely morning. But right now, for a while, I've been working from home. So some days I can, make it 5:30.
Bend the rule.
Doing the whole broadcast.
We got almost bedtime for you then.
I know. Yeah, it should be. But no, I mean, after the morning show, we have like a morning meeting kind of talking about what we did that day, what our plans are for the next day. A lot of days I anchor the 11 a.m. newscast. So that requires me to go into the studio. People think we have hair and makeup people. We don't. We do it ourselves.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did not
think
know
that's
that
only
either.
like major news networks, right? That have
At this point, yeah, exactly. Like I think some of these larger markets, and well, I should say, I have friends who work for union shops and they have people who do, their makeup or whatever. But yeah, I do mine.
You have a fabulous job at it.
Thank you. I haven't hit that luck yet, but yeah, so it's a lot of like reading through scripts, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, constantly, a lot of talking to people, which is great because I love people, but a lot of coordinating, especially right now, Zoom calls, emails, texts, social media, a lot of social media, a lot of answering questions right now about COVID. I also balance that with teaching yoga and meditation 2 nights a week in the evenings. And, I do a lot of like charity type work. So I work with the American Heart Association on some projects here. I work through an organization called the Halo House Foundation, which I'm on the board of. We house blood cancer patients in like fully furnished apartments. And so there's just, it's very hard to say like one day does not look like the next day. It's sort of depending on what's going on and what's required of me and in what place. But that's why I keep like a very like tight calendar. And if my new rule for myself as of this year has been, if it's not like set on my calendar on Sunday for that week, I'm not doing it.
It's not gonna
happen. So I just say no. You've got to stop at some point, So
right, yeah.
And that's another question I had was how do you manage your time? Because you're on social media and you're saying people are constantly asking questions, but then you have to do your day job, which is being on TV. Then you have to spend time with your family and your friends and then teach yoga and meditation. And I mean, I bet it's like, do you ever get overwhelmed at times? I'm sure you do, but how do you deal with that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think a lot of people, the tendency to get overwhelmed is so much more frequent or pervasive these days too, because of I always say like we're drinking from a fire hose, you know, like, because, you know, before Instagram, before Facebook, before Twitter, before Snapchat, before LinkedIn, before people could, you know, have constant access to you, things got quiet at a certain point in the day or in a certain point in the night. And then you were, you know, you were with yourself. So, I mean, my family lives in Houston, so I don't really like get to see them without carving out time to do that. And then my friends, understand like the nature of my job. A lot of my friends do the same type of like job, like we're in the same industry, so they get it. Any of my friends who are doctors or nurses, they get it. Even like there's kind of an industry joke where it's like journalists, police officers, firefighters, like nurses and doctors, because we're like, we work, you know, around the clock,
all hand in hand,
on call, and random things happen and we all like scatter. But what's kind of gotten me past those points of being overwhelmed, honestly, is meditation. And like, I know it's become such a trendy thing. Yeah. Right now, which is, you know, I roll my eyes, but I'm like, it's great. I'm happy that people are jumping onto this bandwagon. It's a good one. But, you know, I started years ago, just would walk into my closet or wherever I could find a dark space, turn off all the lights, close my eyes, and just sit for as long as I could. That's turned into now, you know, there are tons of apps and you can do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. It can be guided or with music or in silence. And there's so many different kinds of meditation now. So taking a moment at the very beginning of my day, that is how I start my day. You asked me that. I failed to mention, always with a gratitude meditation in the morning, the very first thing. I mean, like I literally shut off my alarm, sit up, and that's the first thing.
Right then and there?
Yeah. Like no brushing your teeth first, no nothing, because it changes the energy of your body.
Right.
So yeah, because you can think about it, like in the middle of the day, it's sort of hard to relax. At the end of the day, all you want to do is relax. So you're exhausted. Yeah. At the beginning of the day is like when you are fully relaxed. So you can take sort of advantage of that time.
Put all your raw energy into it.
There's no aggressors or anything during the day that can affect you.
Exactly. Because once you look at your phone, your mind starts swirling, right? Like I got to text this person back,
yes.
email,
Thoughts,
I get that. Yeah. Because then it opens that Pandora's box.
Yeah.
One leads to another and then another.
Work. You look at the first text, the first email, you look, and then your mind starts racing. And
what was it? I told them the other day, because I always wake up and immediately I check my phone immediately, and I go into the group chat and I like, you know, spill everything. And I told them, I was like, when I wake up, the minute I check my phone, I feel like my brain, there's like a hamster in there running on the wheel nonstop. And that's like the best analogy I could think of it. Like as soon as you check the phone, that's what happens. And I feel like we need to be more mindful of doing what you're doing and not checking it and doing some sort of meditation or journaling or something. And then,
I mean, give yourself like, look, here's the reality of it is, people are going to take from you as much as you give them, right? So like if your boss, or let's say it's not even your boss, like if someone emails you something and they need it right away, you're giving them your like pieces of your life, pieces of your time, right? Yeah. But like, how can you reclaim that for yourself? And I think that's important. That's a boundary. And honestly, culturally, I think we're not very good at boundaries. Like we're deferential, whatever you want, whatever's best for you. Like that's how we're taught. That's how it is to be polite. Right. But like, I've read and been kind of studying on these boundaries a lot. And that's where the idea that I had came from, you know, Sunday, if it's not on my calendar, nope, got to move it to the next week. But I meditate 3 times a day. So the first thing in the morning, I make myself stop for even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, hopefully, usually trying to squeeze in 20 minutes every midday. And then in the evening, I go to sleep with a yoga nidra, which it translates to yogic sleep. So that's how I fall asleep, but, or right before I fall asleep. But, you know, some people who go, I don't have 10 or 20 minutes in the middle of my day. I don't have time for that. And I'm like, if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself in the middle of your day,
you'll lose it.
There's a problem. There's a problem.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's, those are the staples of my day outside of like a workout, which now looks different. I think it's great. I can do everything right here. I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You could literally be on a conference call for work and
have a weight in this hand, like.
You guys are gonna laugh. Wait, stand by.
Oh my God,
Yes.
I wasn't kidding.
Nearby.
I have everything right here. I have it all right here. Yeah. It's only 5 pounds. Don't make fun of me.
It's okay. I use the 5 pounds one.
Do you prefer to do your workouts at night or in the morning?
I usually have to do them at night just because of my work schedule in the morning. Like there are days when I'm like, could I get up any earlier? No. Yeah. So
don't even
you would just not sleep. You'd be up at 1 a.m. working out.
Wake up at 2 and you can make it happen.
Oh, actually, you wake up at 2 one night and start working out at 4 a.m. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, sure. If I want to sleep at 4 in the afternoon, yeah, why not?
That should be our challenge this week.
I was going to say, I hope that's not the challenge of the week.
No, I would not wish that on anyone. No. Oh gosh.
Okay, I have one more question about your career as a reporter, and then we'll go in more into the yoga and meditation aspect.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I know the difference, as someone who's in the audience, a reporter and a journalist.
Oh, that's
but what do you consider yourself as?
So either of those terms would be accurate, journalist or reporter. But like nowadays there are analysts, these talking heads who give their opinion or write their opinion. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest difference that people don't understand these days. I don't give my opinion about the news that I share with people.
You're just repeating information.
Yeah. Yes. So like, I'm not saying do this, do that, don't do this. I think this is good, whatever. Right. I'm like, hey, this is what happened. This is how it happened. This is where it happened, whatever. Now
it's up to you to do with what you want.
Exactly. Now I do cross the line when it comes to health. And I say like, look, you should eat vegetables every day. Like, yeah, you should eat vegetables every day.
That's not controversial.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. You'd be surprised.
No way.
All foods matter.
Oh my God. All right. So I read that you used to actually report on breaking news, crime, and politics. So what made you switch to health and wellness?
So a couple of things. I feel like there was a point in time, I covered crime and courts and stuff for like 12 years and breaking news. It's called general assignments. So basically if there's a flood, go. If there's a fire, go. If whatever's happening, shooting. But like in Houston, there got to be a point when it was really like wearing on me. When I lived there, I would get up between 1:45 and 2:30 in the morning just to go to work. And the first thing of the day was negative. You check your email and it's like basically who got killed today and whose door am I going to have to knock on to talk to about the saddest day of someone's life? Like I just couldn't do it anymore after a certain point. And fortunately, I've been practicing yoga for a long time, but my teacher at that point in my life goes, Sonia, you should really think about doing your yoga teacher training. Like, I think you'd be a really awesome teacher. And I think all it took was someone to say that to me. Like, I was very like, me? Really? Oh my gosh, I feel so honored. And so I did my training and I just kept getting like farther and farther away from wanting to do that like kind of reporting, and what people don't understand, I think, about reporters is like, we don't want to tell bad news. Like we don't want to give, like people are like, oh, the media is so negative. I'm like, these are people's like real lives. Yeah. It's like actually really happening. Unfortunately. Exactly. And so for us to be there and say like, ask questions about something that's happening in someone's neighborhood, in someone's community, it's really important to deliver the truth in that way. So, but yeah, I was having there've been articles kind of about like reporter PTSD. I know it sounds crazy, but I know it was like, I was having like nightmares at a certain point of like, people shooting my dad in the head, like things like that, where you're just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So fortunately I'd gotten my yoga teaching certification, and then the job in Dallas came open at the same time when my contract was up in Houston. So it was like, and they were like, hey, we know you run marathons and teach yoga, and like, would you be interested in medical reporting? And I'm like, oh, well, actually, like, yeah. And another thing that people may not know is like a pretty significant chunk of yoga teacher training is training on anatomy and physiology. So like learning about the human body. You can't just tell people like, do this with your body, because I have students who come in and go, oh, I had a knee replacement, or, oh, I have this in my back and this in my neck. Like you have to be able to help them, and you don't want to hurt them further. Mm-hmm. So, so learning about the sort of like intersection of science, like medicine and technology, and of course, nutrition, wellness, fitness is innate to me. Like it's always been of interest. So fortunately, it was like a really nice fit. But yeah, that like 12 years is a long time to cover like really some nasty stuff. You see a lot that you don't really want to see ever.
Did they ever put you outside in a hurricane?
Oh yeah. Actually, the closest I came, like they wouldn't send me to like the eye of the storm. So I'm like, I know you guys can't, I'm like 5 foot tall and like probably 105 pounds. So it's the biggest joke, right? Like I could barely stand. Oh my gosh. I could barely stand like tropical storm force winds. And I hate to say it because I'm like, I could do anything, but man, it's really hard. It's hard. It's harder than it looks.
Those gust winds are no joke.
They're no joke. Yeah, they're no joke. It's for real. But yeah, I mean, literally almost anything you can imagine. Tornadoes. I've been there, done that. The aftermath, like it's terrible. It's tragic. I mean, you walk into a neighborhood where 3 houses are completely leveled days before or after Christmas, right? And then someone's house is completely perfect, and even like the Christmas ornaments are still hanging on the decorations outside. Like it's insane.
Yeah, tornadoes are weird like that.
Yeah.
So was there a story that you could have just said no to, or you just had to go to the assignment and that was it?
I think if there was a conflict of interest, I could have said no, but typically it's not like, hey, you go here. And I'm like, no, like it doesn't really work like that.
I don't feel like
it doesn't work like that, but do you have any creative, I guess when you're in the breaking news and crime, like.
Yeah, you pitch stories. Because you develop sources and contacts who email you or call you and go, hey, I think you need to look into this, or hey, this would be a good story, even if it's a feature, like something positive that's happening, right? And right now, that's all I do. Right now, I don't go to a meeting and they give me something. I tell them, hey, this is what I'm going to have for tomorrow. So it's a totally different rhythm. And they've allowed me to elevate myself like as an expert in the health and wellness arena, and to continue my studies and my courses in order to like keep my knowledge base up so that I can continue to teach people that which I learn.
Did you find that, sorry to cut you. Did you find that starting off, like when you first started reporting, that you weren't taken as seriously when you would pitch stories to them? Like they would kind of say, oh, we're the experts, like you're a newbie, well, we're just going to give you what stories to report on. Because that's something that I noticed in the morning show, which is, I know that's all TV and drama.
Yeah.
But the younger, newer people wouldn't be taken as seriously, especially if they were women also. The experts that have been there for a while would just give them the stories and say, here, go talk about this.
Yeah, I think it depends who you work for. Right now, my 3 main bosses are all women, and 2 of them are women of color. So like, it's a totally different vibe than going into a station where all your bosses are white men, frankly.
White male.
Yeah. And I've had both of those scenarios now, so I feel the difference. And you've got to have a range of experiences to appreciate all of it, right? Like, okay, that was, like, you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Why do I feel more comfortable in this scenario than the other one? But, and I've also lived through and worked through like a weird time in journalism. Like I'm sort of like on the cusp of the old school people who did things like the old school way. And that was rough. Yeah. Cause you walk in and I mean, I had people go, are you the new intern? And I'm like, nope, I work here. Like,
you tell
I'm actually your boss.
Yeah, not
welcome to day one.
Yeah. I've had like a little, in Texas, we call it little ladying someone. You know, I remember, I don't know if I should say who, but it was an official, a government official in Texas.
We'll bleep it.
Years and years
It was Ted
ago.
Cruz, just say it.
No, it wasn't. No, I've never actually met him. It was the governor of Texas years ago, and I asked him a question. We were at like a press conference on education, or you know, and I asked him a question, and he responded in a way that kind of made other people go like laugh at me, and I was like, I looked around, and it was like the women were not laughing. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those moments where I'm like,
yeah.
So there's a lot of those moments, even within organizations, but I am glad to say and proud to say that not in this job, and not in this, not in this.
That's great. Yeah.
Experience.
So you might have already brushed on this. I noticed that you have a Monday motivation segment, and you know, since we are Monday News, I was wondering if you could give us and our listeners, you know, on ways we can manage our energy to accomplish goals and stay on task.
That's a good one. I think you've got to, this is like the most basic tip I could ever give. You got to pour back into yourself. You can't give from the depths of your well, right? Like there's a saying, you give from your overflow. So thinking about all those people, again, who need things and want things from you, who depend on you, who rely on you, whether it's your child or your boss or whatever else you got going on, you've got to have enough for yourself in order to be able to give. And so I think that's where people fall short, because we're constantly doing and giving outwardly, and then you're depleted. You have nothing left for yourself. So protecting your energy is the best way. Like that's how I would say it in my language, right? Like, what does that look like to you? What does that mean to you? I think for everyone that's going to look and feel different. What does it mean for you to protect your energy? Does it mean you turn off your phone for 20 minutes? Does it mean you meditate? Does it mean you lay down and watch one show of Netflix and that makes you happy? Like, does it mean you learn to cook something? You know, whatever it is, protecting your energy and not just constantly giving it away, giving some of it back to yourself every day, I think is the best tool that you can really not just like learn and think about doing, but like actually embody it, like do it every day.
Self-care.
Totally.
What type of self-care works for you? It's like trial and error, right? Everything that works for others might not work for you. I love that though. Could you talk to us about the benefits of yoga and then the benefits of meditation?
Yeah, I mean, have you guys, first of all, have y'all ever done yoga or meditation?
Yes.
I have attempted to do yoga.
How did you feel afterwards?
I was very frustrated. I'm not a flexible person.
Okay.
I the first few times I went, I wanted to give up because I'm a very like outgoing, hyper person, and it was really hard for me to calm down, and I almost caught myself laughing at one point, but I got into it, and it's very calming, and it does help you become flexible. Arash, maybe you can try it again.
No, it does. I mean, the meditation, I have the Calm app, and I've been using that sometimes, and I felt great after each session. I felt calm, you know, at peace, like in the moment with myself. And the yoga part, not so easy. That was
So like,
I have no problem meditating. I'll just lay down for 20 minutes and like not do anything and just
start snoring.
So like, and it's common for people to fall asleep, especially at the beginning of like meditating, because your body your nervous system is like all like, it's always like going, right? And then so think about it, when you suddenly want it to slow down and stop, you just like totally give out.
Just shut down.
Yeah, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Your body's just like, what is this? But if you practice bringing it down, and then it goes back up a little, and you practice bringing it down and you will find this like middle ground, and ideally almost like a flat line. You don't really want to get the high highs or the super low lows. You're almost like an observer of yourself. So when you talk about the benefits, it's like, I think of this word equanimity. Like there could be chaos all around, but like if you can just remain calm and remember, like, be grateful, you know, you are okay, you're breathing, like you can see, you can hear, you have shelter, like you have clothes on, you know what I mean? It's bringing yourself back to your breath. That's what we mean by all of that, is like, you are good, you are fine, you're protected, you're all good. So that's, I think, one of the main benefits to meditation is reminding yourself that you're okay, no matter what is happening around you. And this is not meant to be like an emotionless experience. Like, some meditations, I just have tears coming down my eyes. Some meditations, like, I might laugh. Some meditations are thoughts zipping around. And so, it's just like every day. It's just like weather. Some days are sunny, some days are cloudy, some days are stormy, same thing. But the benefit is just that marriage of mind and body. And what does that is breath. When you're focusing on your breath, when you're grateful for your breath, you remember that you're a person, you're a human, right? Like, you're here, you're breathing, you're fine. And the benefits of yoga, gosh, like, so whether it's, someone who has high blood pressure or mobility issues, or, because I think with yoga in the Western world, we think so physical, but, again, it's a practice. You don't start playing soccer and are automatically like amazing.
A pro,
yeah. So like, you build up to it. But I actually teach a lot of athletes and a lot of people who are older with mobility issues, a lot of guys who are physically tight in like shoulders, knees, hips. So most of my classes are geared toward beginners, because the people who can put their foot behind their heads, like, there's a million teachers out there, go find one of them. But for me, if you have back pain, there's a reason why, right? Are you sitting all the time? And where can we help you to not feel chronic pain? That's one of the greatest benefits of yoga for my students that I've observed, is they're like, wow, you were right. Like, I don't feel pain in my back anymore. Or if I do feel pain, if it does creep up, I know what to do with my own body to make myself feel better, without constantly popping these, pills and doing other things
gives me
to numb ourselves.
Yoga stance. So I don't know what you call them, but
What'd you say?
my chiropractor gives me like yoga instructions.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you do them, Arash?
Huh?
Do you do them?
Yeah, she said, when you're sitting at work, you got to do certain things to loosen up I have a tight upper back, so.
Yeah, I can tell by the way you're sitting.
Yeah, right. I carry everything.
Is she analyzing us right now? Should I
be carrying everything in your shoulders?
Yeah.
Hear me for a second. What about the differences between types of yoga? Because I myself, when I would go to yoga class, there's like 100 different titles of the types of classes that you go to. So how does somebody know what type of yoga class to go to? Like, what are the benefits of each one? I'm sure there's a lot, but in a broad sense.
Yeah, I mean, I would Google it. I mean, that sounds silly, but if it's like a yin yoga and you're like, yin, what is this class? Like, yin is a very slow, brings the energy down, relaxing, calming yoga. But if you see power vinyasa flow, that is going to be an energizing, heated, fast-paced, really physical class. And I tell most people to start with yin and restorative or basic beginner classes, because if you have a bad experience the first, let's say 2 or 3 times you try something, you're like, this sucks, I don't want to go back to this.
Right. Yeah. But you're doing the hardest thing.
Exactly. If you feel empowered at the end of trying something new, then you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad, I'll try it again. And maybe you get better at it. But also like yoga, meditation, really like anything else, if you have a good teacher, it means the world, because I think someone who can explain to you and empower you and sort of be lighthearted and funny about it at the same time, with the knowledge base of like not physically making sure you hurt yourself, that's a lot wrapped into one person. So I put a lot of stock in like finding good teachers and really researching not just the type of class that I do, but the teacher who I'm seeing as well.
Is there like a website or app that you can go and kind of like rate yoga teachers or something, or find, ones that?
Yeah, I don't know about rating. That would be.
If not, I'll be on it right now.
That's a good idea, Arta.
Like, good idea. Usually, like, I know ClassPass, if you guys ever do yoga classes on ClassPass, they have, you can leave reviews and stuff like that. Sure. I don't know if there's an app that rates yoga teachers.
You got to a hot yoga session. It wasn't hot enough.
Oh my gosh, I hate hot yoga.
It's already hot in Dallas.
It's
Normal
very
yoga for you.
it's controversial. It will, because like if you, so that's the whole thing, right? Like if you already have heat in your body while you're moving, especially, and then you bring this false heat in. And I know people like to sweat because they think it's detox, but it's actually like your internal organs specifically are there to detox you. They're not, you know, like if you talk about your liver and your kidneys, like you're not detoxing by sweating, a little bit, but people think like, oh, I'm just going to get this great sweat and I've detoxed myself.
Yeah. All the, what's it called? The pineapple, what is it? That the blue Malibu, whatever drink that like knocks you out pretty good. What is it called?
What?
No, what's that drink? I lost. Let's say the night before you're pounding down whiskey and vodka and all these different things, and the next day you go do a hot yoga. You're not sweating all that alcohol out.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, I'm kind of guilty of that because I would go out and then the next morning I would wake up at like 6 a.m. and go do like a power vinyasa flow, and I'd sweat it out and I'd be like, yeah, I just detoxed everything I had last night. I'm good to go.
Deal with your hangover like an adult. Pedialyte and 2 Tylenols and a banana.
I mean, but is it bad to get a workout in? No. Even if it's not detoxing, you're moving your body.
But
more power to you. You can.
The misconception is like if you're sweating a lot, you assume like you had a great workout, whatever. But that's not the case. You're just a heavy sweater.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, not the case at all. You don't need to sweat to get to consider it a good workout.
Right.
All right. Last question on my end about yoga and meditation. So a lot of people that want to start meditating because they know that they need it in their life, but they struggle with it because they cannot focus, whether it's from outside distractions of like people or things going on in their life or their phones. What advice do you give them to truly learn how to get into meditating and shut your brain off?
So 2 things. The myth is meditation means you shouldn't be thinking about anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily true. You can be observing your mind. And that's why I usually tell my students, keep a journal, like right by wherever it is, your bed or wherever you usually meditate, because we have about 60 to 65,000 thoughts per day. And a majority of those thoughts are repetitive thoughts from day to day. Mm-hmm. If you think about some of the stuff you think about every day, it's probably some of the stuff you thought about yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then a large percentage of those thoughts are actually negative thoughts. But meditation, let me give you an example. Okay, so if you see that your boss from work is calling you, you're not like, oh, yay, my boss is calling. You're like, oh, what does she want? Or whatever, right? So like that's a negative thought. When, maybe she's calling for not a negative reason, but that's the human sort of nature.
Immediately, yeah.
Yeah. So something to practice in meditation is this idea of pivoting the mind, pivoting the thought to a positive place over and over and over again. And there is a new connection that's formed. This concept is known as neuroplasticity. You're actually sort of rewiring the brain, right? Mm-hmm. But like, so for anyone out there who's like, I can't shut my brain off. Like, don't worry about it. Just write down what did come up in your meditation, even if it was like, wow, why did that like birthday party when I was like 5 years old come up? Who knows? There might be a pattern. There might be a reason. Take a deep dive whenever you want, or don't. Just write it down and move on. But like anything else, it's a practice, right? Start with 5 minutes, start with 8 minutes, explore different types of meditation. There's sound bath meditation. So do you like sound? Do you not like sound? Do you like music? Do you not like music? Do you like the voice of this instructor? Do you want to try another instructor? There are so many apps, like Arta mentioned the Calm app. I use Insight Timer. There's a million different ones out there now. And especially right now with the pandemic and everything being online, all these instructors have online yoga meditation offerings, like individual people. So if you know and like someone, try them. But the important thing is to really do it every day, because there might be a day, on day 10 or 12 where you go, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. Or like, oh, that went by really fast. Maybe the next day you try 10 minutes instead of 8 minutes, or whatever the case may be. But just like, you know, my niece is 7 years old and she is learning to read right now, right? Like, you know, read and write and all this stuff. And she's reading books, and it's just like anything else. You just have to keep practicing. You keep learning a little bit more every time and a little bit more every time. Some of these words are hard for her, or writing a sentence is hard for her, spelling something is hard, but you figure it out as you go. But
Yeah,
you
practice
gotta
makes
be
perfect.
committed. Yeah, you got to be committed to it. I like to say practice makes practice, because there's never a time when it's perfect.
Oh, that's great.
You just keep practicing, keep learning. Yeah.
So I was gonna conclude our questions before we get into rapid fire questions. You know, holiday season is upon us, and this can be, you know, cheerful for many people, but also very stressful for others. So I was saying, what are some tips that you can give to stay in a positive mindset and having the, you know, healthy eating habits? Because during this time, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, there's a lot of family over and there's a lot of food being consumed, and, you know, and even that family can be judgmental. So you have extra burden, you know, all this negativity around you. So how do you remain in that calm, you know, positive, healthy mindset?
So I think that's a good question. And you mentioned so much in that one question, like what other people want for you isn't what you want for yourself. And you're an individual and you're a human and you are an adult, you know, if we're talking to adults. And so sorry if you don't want me to eat that, but no, I'm good. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Arta, you could have your fourth piece of pie. It's okay.
Perfect.
Right,
Thank
right.
you. That's all I needed to hear.
He's
Confirmation.
like, that's all I want to know.
I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you. And I think my parents, especially my dad, whoo, Lord, he's like, more, eat more, eat more. And I'm like, I'm fine. But they've gotten used to that now. Like, even now my mom will say to my dad, she said she's fine. Like, leave her alone, you know? As far as like motivation, you know, staying healthy, look, people can, there are so many apps, there are so many people you can follow on Instagram or wherever you do social media. Consuming what you consume becomes who you are, right? So like, take a look at what's around you. Take a look at your 5 or 10 closest friends. Who are the people you talk to every day? Like, those are the people who are influencing you the most. Get rid of the Instagram accounts that make you feel like crap, and follow people who are motivating you, and follow people who are positive. And I say this to my students all the time. I can motivate you every single day, but I can't have discipline for you. So like, I can give you all the tools, and then you got to take it and do whatever
put the
with
work
it, like
in,
whatever you want. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I can tell you, hey, look at my workout schedule and make it a goal for yourself to work out 5 days this week. But I can't come to your house and move your body for you.
Right.
So I can help you to find a workout that would be good for you, or find a teacher who can help you, or a coach, or an instructor. But like, you got to surround yourself with supportive people. And that's why community is so important. It's such a buzzword nowadays, especially in the fitness world. Everyone's talking about, we've got such a great community, such a great community. And it's true. If you build a community of people, whether that's 5 people or 5,000, you feel like you're part of something, someone's going to hold you accountable for not showing up. Like, oh, you're going to show up. And not just for yourself, but for them. And also, you know, as a health reporter, every time I drive by a hospital, I'm like, there are people who can't do what I'm able to do right now, whether they're sick or whether they're, you know, just for whatever reason. And that is always the biggest motivator for me, is like, you know, maybe I don't feel like running today, but I can walk, you know, or maybe I don't feel like, you know what I mean? You got to like perspective. You got to think about some of these things, and whatever it is that speaks to you, because that may not speak to everyone. But for me, that's always a driving factor. Like, oh my gosh, I can do so much with this body right now that I may not be able to, you know, 30 years from now. And, you know, maybe some of it I wasn't able to 10 years ago. So it's all about the here and now. It's all about do what you want for yourself when you want. And I know that sounds really selfish, probably. Again, our culture is not like a very me-centered culture. It's about others first. So, which is beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's also like, oof, I need, again, protect my energy.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a break, right?
You give so much in our culture that you forget to take care of yourself. And then in turn, that affects how you are giving to other people. And it's like this constant cycle.
What did you go back to? You got the well. What you were saying, you got to replenish your own well.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Give from your overflow.
I like that too.
Give from your over. Well, yeah, because you don't want to be resentful for what you give. You don't want to be like, oh, like I just gave to all these people. Like you want. Yeah, generosity should come from a place of you wanting, you desiring to give. So yeah, not from like a place of obligation.
Yeah.
So thank you for answering all the easy questions that we gave you.
Oh my gosh, those were the easy questions.
Those are the easy. Now we get to the hard-hitting, rapid-fire questions.
Rough stuff.
Rapid,
All right,
you know.
Ready.
Boom, bang.
Okay. All right.
Listen, answer. Listen, answer.
All right.
Ready?
First thing that pops into my head. Okay.
Yes. All right. Let her get her little chai fuel going.
No.
All right. Here we go.
Okay.
What is your favorite city that you've traveled to?
Oh, y'all, that is so hard. I travel a lot. Oh my gosh.
We got her.
We got her on the first one.
That is really hard. I'll just say one of the most recent ones, Bali, because it's fresh on my mind. Yeah.
Okay.
One city you've never been to but would like to visit.
Only one.
First one.
Oh, Johannesburg.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Who is one person you would like to have lunch with, dead or alive?
Oprah.
Who is your inspiration or role model?
Ooh. One of I'll say this name. It's just one of the most memorable women probably ever. Barbara Walters.
Rock star.
You'll see the difference between Amaran's questions and my questions.
And also mine.
It's all good.
Favorite cereal and with which dairy alternative?
Oh, dude, that's a good question. Definitely oat milk in the cereal. And I'm not a cereal eater, but I do eat like granola. So like a gluten-free granola with oat milk is like,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice, tasty.
One thing on your bucket list.
There's a lot. Go to Antarctica.
Ooh.
Okay.
I like that.
I didn't notice at the time that you're vegan, but I'm going to ask anyways. Your go-to guilty pleasure meal?
Oh, French fries.
French fries. Okay, yeah. That's a good one.
When and where do you find the most inspiration?
When I'm by myself and in nature.
One thing you would tell your teenage self.
Only one thing. Wow.
Okay, you can say three. Go ahead. Say top three.
Get on Monday News sooner.
You are, yeah, I know, right? You are doing your best. Be nice to your parents.
Be nice to yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say something along those lines of like, be kind. Yeah, just be kind to yourself. Yeah.
I love that.
Sorry if I took that.
No, it's great. We're on the same page. That means you know me already.
Yeah, wavelength.
Yeah.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
What?
Oh man.
Oh, here we go. We got a rivalry between this group here.
Who picks Adidas?
She does.
Me.
Okay. Karafs or ghormeh sabzi?
Oh, ghormeh sabzi, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Is Karafs up there? Or is it like low on your list?
It's, my mom has really spoiled me because she makes everything without meat. The most recent, I had never had fesenjoon without meat until more recently. It was amazing. If y'all I know that it's like even unfathomable for some people, but it was so good. So,
just
but it's
looking
up there,
at it.
yeah.
No matter how you make it, that thing is not good.
Sonia, we literally this morning, the three of us had a discussion about this because I'm very pro fesenjoon and they're very anti fesenjoon. We literally had a conversation about this, so I'm glad you're on.
I don't care which animal you put into it; it's not good.
Do you know what's crazy is I don't think I ever ate it in my life until I had it as a vegetarian. And so it's like walnuts and anar and like just the flavors. Oh, so good. It was so good.
All right. So do you eat tahdig now or no? No, right?
Oh, for sure. Yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. All of it.
Regular tahdig or potato tahdig?
Potato. Don't even ask that question.
Don't even try it.
All right. Now here's one. What's worst, leg day or bad tahdig?
Oh, man. I'm trying to remember if I've ever had bad tactic.
Oh, she's
basically
blessed.
You're blessed. You're privileged.
Right? Or I'm just not picky. It's all good.
Still blessed. You don't taste
Or you hate leg day.
I know, right? No, leg day is not so bad. If you would have said upper body, I'd be like, ooh, yeah. I feel like women generally have stronger lower bodies. So legs typically would be harder for guys,
Like
upper body
day,
harder for women. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we'll end it with favorite city that you've lived in.
San Diego.
Whoop, whoop. Yes.
Okay, I have. Should I ask her the question?
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. This is a controversial one that has to be asked every week.
I think so far it's been 30% my way.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, dude. I'm gonna say no.
Thank you.
No, that's the right answer.
That's the right answer,
That's
honey.
the right answer.
Yes, there is. Arash, give it up.
Listen,
It's a
meat
hot
between
dog.
bread.
A hot dog, yeah.
It's a hot dog, Arash.
But no, it's not. Yeah, I would say no.
I mean, could you with that same logic, could you call a taco a sandwich? It's the same.
Yeah,
That's a really good. Yeah, I was trying to think of an example, but all I could think of were actual sandwiches. But that's a good one.
All this food talk now, I'm hungry.
Whatever.
When it's food, I chime in.
Yeah.
So Sonia, what do you have for us for our Monday news this week? We can't wait. Our Monday news
I'm so
challenge.
excited about this.
Um,
Okay. You
Okay,
ready?
our challenge. Yeah, go ahead.
for it.
Okay. So you're gonna do 3 things every day this week. Number 1, something kind for someone else every day. It can be as simple as a text message to someone you haven't talked to. Just, hey, I'm thinking about you. You crossed my mind. Just want to send you blessings. Hope you have a good day. It can be very simple. You don't have to be too complicated about it. It can be coffee for a stranger, whatever. So something kind for someone else. Something kind for yourself. So do something that you love just for you. You don't need to Instagram about it. Just something that makes you feel happy. And don't multitask it, right? So don't be like, I'm getting a pedicure and I'm responding to work email. It doesn't work like that. Just the pedicure, right? And then the third thing is to do something new every day. So something new every day could be, let's say, you are used to doing one meditation on your app or doing one yoga class or whatever. You do a different teacher or a different guided, option. Let's say you typically drink whatever drink at Starbucks and you just switch it up, do something new. That helps the brain kind of stay engaged and it helps you stay excited. And especially nowadays when people feel like life is just that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
Where we're talking about the same thing over and over and over with not much deviation because of our
you fall into a routine.
movement.
Yeah.
Totally. It takes you, doing something new takes you out of that autopilot. You take a different route to work or wherever you're going. You go for a walk a different direction. Keep it simple, but you can do those 3 things, incorporate those 3 things into each day. That's
together. Yeah. I love that.
What a great challenge.
Sonia, thank you so much for being on with us.
Thank you.
Had a
You
great time.
Fun.
This is a great conversation. We really appreciate you. To our listeners, make sure you all go follow Sonia on, I know your Instagram, but we'll tag all your different socials at Sonia Azad TV on Instagram. And of course on our page, follow, subscribe, share with your friends, so thank you all for joining us. Sonia, thank you for coming on. We know you're busy. You have so many things going on. We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sonia. We had an awesome time talking to you.
Thank you so much, Sonia. We're honored to have you.
Hey, it was my pleasure. And thank you guys for doing this and for shining a light on such a beautiful community of people. I'm really honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week, everyone.